everyone. Thank you for visiting Donna's Happy Hour. Quick reminder, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future notifications, and comment as well, and hope you come back soon. Thank you. Hi everyone. Welcome to Donna's Happy Hour. I'm so excited. Tonight I have a very, very special guest. His name is David Pucciarelli. He's an artist, and he actually does a lot of work with the New York Yankees. They do a nonprofit fundraiser for children that don't ordinarily get a chance to play on a major baseball field. So I want you to grab your drinks, whatever it may be, because I'm hoping you'll spend the next hour with me. This is David Pucciarelli. You're in for a real treat. I can't say this enough. David, he's an artist, and your artwork is not even fantastic. I honestly don't have enough words for it. It's
thank you.
Truly, you know, when they say it's a work of art, it truly is
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So, you know, we didn't get to speak too much prior to the show. Well, we got to speak, but we didn't talk about we didn't talk about what we were going to do tonight. So, anyway, but you were telling me that when you first got started, how did you get involved with art? Like, was it something that you did in high school? Was it in grammar school, or when did you start with art?
Well, it was more of an accidental situation. Somebody had knew I was into Stevie Ray Vaughan, the blues player.
Okay.
So I'm kind of thinking like 2002, she asked me if I could draw something for a tattoo she was getting.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'll try, but at that point it was just mainly photography.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You know, so
All
she
right.
thought somehow I could do it. And
Right.
turned out that I could. And
that you did.
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then it just kind of developed from there. But we were talking, can I say backstage?
Yes, yeah.
We were
absolutely.
talking backstage before and about that first tapestry I did for high school.
Right.
And I had met a friend from high school yesterday, and she brought it up to me. You know, you did a sketch of John Lennon.
Wow.
So that was 83 or 84.
Okay.
And she showed it to me.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, yeah, that is me.
Wow.
And but I had never really started to develop it until, I don't know, probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
No, 13 years ago.
Wow. Okay. And the tapestry. Now, when you say tapestry, because I used to do tapestry, like literally sewing. Is that what?
No.
Or did you do the sketch for her to do the tapestry?
For high school tapestry, I guess, right? So it's a book, and then everybody puts a poem in, and or a piece of photograph.
Okay.
So that's.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
don't know why they call it tapestry.
Yeah,
but
I was literally thinking like a
yeah,
tapestry.
an embroidery
that
or
yes,
something
yeah,
like
because
that.
I used to do a lot of embroidery, so that
Okay.
was
No,
interesting.
not
Oh
the same
wow.
thing.
Okay. So now I want to get to the photograph that you have over here.
Yes.
So tell me, now you're involved with obviously baseball. And what?
The Mickey Mantle Baseball Classic is a non-profit organization out of Commerce, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And of course it's Mickey Mantle. It's named after Mickey Mantle,
Okay.
who was raised in Commerce, Oklahoma. So I happened to go down there in about 2003 or 4.
Okay.
And I just kind of wanted to visit where he had grown up. And I stumbled literally on the event that was going on.
Oh wow.
And I talked to the person that actually ran the event. And the person I was with was actually a client from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And she bought some of my photographs that I had done. And she's like, oh, you know, you love Mickey Mantle. I know of this event that goes on. We should go down there. We went and kind of stumbled on it.
Wow.
And
So you got involved with the Mickey Mantle nonprofit. Is it a fundraiser? Is that what they do with this?
Well,
or-
it's a weekly event It helps high school students play on Mickey Mantle Field. It gives them a chance to realize their dream. So if they don't play beyond high school ball,
Right.
you can't get bigger than that playing on Mickey Mantle Fields.
Right.
Mickey
right.
Mantle's hometown. And you get Mickey Mantle bats, and you get to hit with the
Oh,
bats,
wow.
and it's
Oh,
really
neat.
amazing.
Oh, that is great.
And it's nonprofit. They don't have, it's just, it's. Then there's a dinner, a fundraiser at the end of the week that helps raise money. So we donate a lot of the paintings I do.
Right.
People will donate Mickey Mantle items, and the kids are all there. They get awards,
Oh,
like the Courage Award.
Oh, how great.
So it's
that
really
is
amazing.
Really, really
Yeah,
nice. Wow.
the kids are really.
Well, I would imagine that it inspires a lot of kids to go further
Yes.
in whatever.
Yeah, you get their passion. It's
Right.
sports, and you don't know what their family situation is. You don't know what they're going through at the time.
Right.
It's
right,
sports. It's not social media. It's not texting people.
Right.
It's
right,
it's a one-on-one
right.
interaction.
Now they get to meet a lot of the baseball stars.
Yes.
They do. That's great. Wow.
What we do is we bring usually an ex-Yankee from that met Mickey, that knew him from Old Timers Day,
Okay.
and Goose Gossage.
Oh wow.
Greg Nettles, Ron Guidry, Bucky Dent. They're my heroes growing up as sports people.
Right.
And they would be invited down, and they would come to the event and to the field and meet the kids, sign autographs, and
Wow.
then the dinner. They would speak how Mickey Mantle was such a hero to them,
Right.
and why.
Right.
A lot of people just hear Mickey Mantle, but he went through an awful lot.
Yes.
Went through an awful
Wow. Wow. And now, so you draw the baseball stars. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
And then
specifically for the event.
for the event.
There'll be
okay.
a one-off of Mickey, and then whoever the guest is will do one. Let's say if it's Goose Gossage, I'll do a painting and a drawing, and there's an auction.
Wow.
And like I said, they get up and give a really nice speech, and it's amazing. We had Goose Gossage come down,
Wow.
and Goose is a ginormous
Yeah.
human being and the sweetest guy.
Wow.
And when he came down and we took him to see Mickey Mantle's boyhood home, he's just tearing up and he's
Oh,
crying. He calls his son from the car and he's like, "You don't know where I am. I'm in front of Mickey's house."
Wow.
So
Oh, my God.
there's a lot of, you don't realize how much.
Well, what's so interesting is now you have a baseball player like Gossage, right?
Yep.
Who has, obviously, he idolizes Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if you're famous yourself, there's always somebody that you kind of idolize,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
get just as excited as a little kid
Yep.
would be about meeting, who
A non-famous person
exactly
seeing
right.
somebody
Exactly.
else. It's
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
And when they go above and beyond their expectations, how amazing they are.
Right.
They're not aloof. They're not.
Right.
You like you
Right.
just said.
Right.
They get, oh my God, I'm in front of Mickey Mantle's house.
Right.
Oh, I'm in front of Goose Gossage.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So-
So it's funny how it doesn't matter if you're famous. If you had somebody that you idolize, it is what it is, and that's what it is for these kids. It's like, oh my gosh, I think it's wonderful. Now, when was this taken? This you said was done.
There was a question I was going to get stumped on. That's it. I think it was my first year down working for them.
Oh wow,
It's
okay.
2004, I believe, because I'm still kind of cute.
Yeah,
So-
and this is terrible, but I didn't really. I don't have my glasses on, so I didn't take a good look at the picture. And when he told me, well, yeah, it's, that's a picture of me, and I'm like, it is.
Yeah.
And
See, that's all I'm saying.
But I didn't expect you to be in the uniform. That threw me a little, but I don't have my glasses on, so. But that's fantastic, and that's one of the photographs, obviously, that you paint.
Yeah, it was a painting of Mickey.
Now, I want to ask, and I'm just going to get off the beaten track a little bit. What medium do you use?
I'm self-taught, so I use any medium. So, medium meaning that it's not like a medium you would think of photography. It's medium means watercolor.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Or
As an artist,
or,
you
or
know.
whatever you. Yeah. Like if you like
Pastel,
oils.
acrylic.
Yes. Correct.
I
Right.
mix any medium there is.
Wow.
I don't.
Do you really?
I don't know what to use. It's whatever I can get, and that's how I get to it.
Wow. Now, I am going to be showing some of his art, and when I tell you that he literally did one of the paintings just last night.
Yeah.
Did you
Through
stay
the
up all
morning.
night?
So
I was
I'm a
going to
little
say, did you
punch drunk,
stay
that's
up
the
all
one.
night? Because
Yeah.
it's absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You are, get ready to have your mind blown. So, and so this is a yearly thing now that you participate in.
Been with them now. They celebrated their 20th, and I've been involved. We were trying to figure that out about 15 years.
Wow.
And then they've become like family to me. And when you're in the Midwest, it's a lot different than up here.
Is it?
But it's so.
Yeah.
If am I allowed to plug a nonprofit?
Yes, yeah. Nonprofit is fine, yeah.
Mickey Mantle Classic.com. If
Okay.
you really want to give back to kids and Mickey, if he's
Right.
your hero, if you have a baseball hero, I mean, they are the most amazing people ever.
Oh, wow.
And you're really helping out kids
Right.
that, some of course will go on to play college ball or beyond, and
Right.
but it's you're giving back to
Right.
they're not sitting which is great, at a computer,
Right,
but they're
exactly.
interacting with people.
Right.
So,
No,
which
I
is
think
amazing.
It is amazing.
And a great organization.
And you know what? I'm going to go on and check it out because I never knew about the organization. As a matter of fact, maybe I would love to be able to interview them.
Oh, Brian. You would love Brian Wainwright.
Genius.
Where is Brian? Can I wave to that camera?
Yeah.
Brian is awesome. I mean, you've got to talk to him.
Oh,
He's
I
the
would love to.
sweetest man, and what he's gone through and accomplished, it's absolutely amazing.
So,
And he's really a sweetheart.
isn't that wonderful when you hear these stories of things that people have overcome? And what is so wonderful about nonprofits is giving back. Because honestly, a lot of times it's a very thankless job.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it is.
Endless hours,
Endless hours,
work,
right? Yes, yeah.
For a week or 2 days,
Right,
and
right.
then it's boom.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I always try to promote in the sense, and I don't know if I want to say promote, but give the nonprofits the chance to be on, to tell about what they're involved with, what they're doing, and they deserve it. I just did actually. It was an amazing episode. If you haven't caught it yet, it's with Delaware Valley Raptor Center, and this man and his wife, they rescue owls, hawks, eagles, falcons, and any big bird. And I have to tell you, he and his wife, they dedicate their life to this.
Well, you have to give up.
Oh my God!
If you're not a selfless human being, and I use the word human being,
right,
but
right.
if you're not selfless, let's bring the Beatles into it. Julian Lennon.
Right. Oh yeah, you were telling me.
I think it's probably half his life is spent giving to others
really giving
less fortunate, and it's just it's amazing when you meet somebody or somebody. They don't need to do that.
Right. No, they
it's
don't.
It's more work than doing their job.
You're right. Absolutely.
And it's a thankless. Let's face it.
Well, it is.
It's pretty thankless.
It is. And we just actually also did an interview, and that's going to be another episode with Lakota Wolf Preserve.
Oh, the one you said. Oh my God, we have to go.
Oh
wolves are in my soul.
Oh my God, it truly was amazing. And there again, it is such. They are dedicated to those wolves, and they also say bobcats too.
Yeah.
And I so for me, being able to get the word out about any nonprofit organization is really a treat, and it's my small way of contributing to them and for them, you know, and so I think it's wonderful. That's
thank you so
simply
much.
fantastic.
I appreciate it. But again, you know how it is with what you do with the Wolves. It's the same. You become family,
Right.
and it's one of those few things that, you know, once it becomes a business,
Right.
you
right.
kind of lose your way a little bit,
Yes,
but you
yes.
stay true to your core.
Right.
But this is like, no matter how hard it gets sometimes, and again, back to Brian Wainwright, I gotta say, I've never seen a human being who's gone through so much
Right.
give that much more.
More.
It's actually humbling.
It is humbling.
And he's a
you know,
goofball
yes.
too, which is
And-
really cool.
Yeah, see that's truly. I would love to meet him. So if you can ever
Ah.
arrange that, I would.
We're trying to get him
Love
up
to meet
here, and
Okay.
you know, if we can, he
Right.
would love that.
Yeah, I would love
Yeah.
that. So let's do this though. I
This
do want
aside.
to show some of your work. This is the painting. Do you call it a painting or a drawing? What? How do you describe it?
I'm not so when people ask me, "Are you an artist?" Well,
Oh,
I
he's
guess-
an artist.
thank you. But I guess an artist in the sense that you, we were talking about it before. You're an artist,
Yes.
so different mediums, and so an artist that you build something.
Right.
Whether an
Yes.
artist is writing something or writing a song,
Right.
you're
right.
building
Right.
layers.
Yes. Yeah.
Music is layers. I mean, it's
Right.
more artistic than a painting. So I'm not a painter per se. So I'm self-taught,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to draw things out in my position. I
right.
can't just paint.
Right.
So
Right.
if you ask me to do an abstract,
Right.
which I've tried,
Right.
I cannot
right.
even do it.
Right. Right.
Um,
well, that's
it's a technique.
right. It's a tech. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. You've obviously really perfected your technique. Okay. So
Thank you.
I'm gonna let you show. I want to move these carefully. So
You just bought that one chipped.
I'm gonna let you hold that, and you can. And this, mind you, you started and finished in one night.
Yeah, which
Pretty
is
much.
rare for me. I cannot draw or
Okay.
paint that fast by any
Okay.
means. No, it's very difficult.
Wow.
This is in celebration of Steve McQueen's 50th anniversary Bullet,
Okay.
the
yes.
iconic film, and Steve McQueen is an iconic figure,
Oh,
and
he
the
is.
Mustang,
Yes.
and also you talk about charity. This man gave so much time and so much money to the Boys Republic in California.
Oh wow.
So if anybody who knows Steve McQueen went through a really bad childhood, and he had a lot of run-ins with the law, petty criminal.
Okay. All right.
And he-
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Self-admittedly would have went to jail, would have been a prisoner had he not gone to the Boys Republic
Wow.
in Chino Hills, California, and he learned a trade, and he went into the Marines and became a motorhead,
Oh. Okay.
an
all right.
engine, and
Oh,
I mean,
interesting. Okay.
it's amazing how it all.
Wow. Yes. Yeah.
And this goes back to Bullet, which is the iconic
Which
film.
is the right. Yeah. I mean, as I said, my husband, he doesn't know this, but I'm going to be giving this to him as our anniversary.
He
gift.
knows now.
No, well, he's not going to get to see it prior to. So, but he, you know, I think everybody kind of relates to Steve McQueen and Bullet.
Some of us are learning.
Some of
I
okay,
can't say
yeah,
who
well,
it is,
no.
but you know, getting there. It's kind of
Well,
like
you
George
know what,
slowly
I mean-
gets to people.
But you have to understand, you know, that unfortunately Steve McQueen has not been with us for quite
Since
some time,
1980,
right?
same time as John Lennon.
Oh, really? I didn't
Both died
realize
in the
that.
same year.
And so, you know, anybody that is born in the 80s, 90s, you know, they didn't grow up with his films.
Well, they are
Yeah.
now. I mean, he's still the most popular
yeah, he is,
film
yeah,
icon. There is nobody.
It's just amazing. But look at that work. So,
Thank you.
well, I can't.
What was the
even tell
price on that? I think it just went up.
It's going up.
I'm
I
saying,
gotta
right?
be quiet.
Where's the eraser on that one? Okay. So,
Oh.
all right.
Well, no, I thought you were donating it.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's right. This is non-profit.
That's right, it is a non-profit. I know. Huh?
God.
Boy, oh boy. Phew, got that one out. All right, so now show us the next. Oops, yeah, I don't want to. Wow.
Amy Winehouse. Now, as far as Amy Winehouse, it's not somebody that would. We were talking about before when you get inspiration. So
Right.
Mickey Mantle, Steve McQueen, the Beatles, George Harrison
Right.
specifically,
Right.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. But Amy Winehouse, there was a neighbor of mine that lived above my old studio, where
Wow.
my studio is now. She looked just like Amy Winehouse. She was a musician as well.
Oh, interesting, huh?
And, there was like, oh my God, you look just like her.
Wow.
Would you mind
Right.
just giving me one photograph of yourself? And hence that's the
Interesting.
one.
Wow.
So two of the real Amy.
Right.
And,
Right.
but she went through so much torment.
See that?
Nobody was there to take care of her.
Take care of her, right?
And, it's unfortunate the way she went, but,
Right.
so I felt like a connection to her.
Right.
Because as an artist, sometimes originally what we were talking about is, back when I really started, I had to go into a deep depression in order, because it was painting people that I felt a connection to and an admiration to.
Right.
And unfortunately, it was I would have to get in such a deep depression. It was
Right,
really
right.
bad. And Stevie Ray Vaughan, one of my
Right.
heroes, he used to say, true art, whether it's a model airplane or painting or song,
Right.
comes from true agony.
Right. Well, there's a lot of truth
Oh,
to that.
yeah.
Yes. It's one thing that you notice with artists is, in general, whether it be that they're musicians or actors or painters or whatever it may be, most of them have a lot of, I don't want to say torment, but I think they're very highly sensitive.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And so, which makes them maybe a little more vulnerable
Yeah.
to
Oh,
things that go on around them, and
they're more in tune
Yes,
with,
yeah,
and then unfortunately, when you're in tune with, which I'm learning now,
right,
is when you're in tune with yourself and you're in tune with everything
yes,
around you, you pick up negativity.
exactly,
And it can.
yes, yeah. There
You know.
is actually there's an exact word for it, and I can't think of it right now. But when, especially being a medium, when you're a medium, which is what I do, you have to try not to take on, how do I want to say this? It's hard to explain. You need to separate, because if you empathy.
So empathy for the people in a room.
Right, or because if you take on their emotion too much, sometimes it's going to block what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
So you have to be somewhat empathetic, and you have to obviously open yourself up, but you also need to be able to control it.
Okay.
And that's,
So it's like an emotion.
it is, yeah. That's exactly, yeah. And that's what a lot of artists they get so involved in, and unfortunately, to some, it's their demise.
A lot of them. A lot of them.
It's very sad, but yet their work that they did, the short time that they were here, is invaluable. Absolutely invaluable.
And it's absolutely, and there's a 27 club, which I don't like that because it's a very dismissive. So Amy Winehouse died at 27. Brian Jones, the original Rolling Stone, who was the artist of the band,
Right.
the musician of the band, the one the Beatles wanted to work with, the one everybody wanted to work with, but he was the most sensitive, the most, everything he felt. And it came out of his music. He wasn't a song, a lyricist like Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, who I dismiss completely.
Right.
But Brian Jones, he's the one until '68 he was the one that added the layers, the colors, the sound. It was the black and white of Jagger's lyrics. If it wasn't for the music, you could actually feel the agony of him.
Well, here's a perfect example: Jimi Hendrix.
Correct.
Perfect.
There's another
example.
27 one.
Right. Yeah. And perfect example because when he played that guitar.
Well, he bled.
Right.
He bled, and I'm not a Jimi Hendrix fan per se.
Right.
But again, for what he could do, I mean, my God, it's mind blowing.
Right.
But Brian Jones and they were great friends.
Oh,
and
were they
go
really?
figure,
Oh, interesting.
they were both passed near each other, and both at 27. And but yes, they can't let go of that hurt.
Right.
And that agony.
And you know what? It's in a way probably for the better because their music wouldn't have been so memorable.
Oh, their impact.
Because of that. Well, Jimi Hendrix knew he was going to die at 27.
So did Brian Jones.
See that?
They exactly knew almost near the date.
Yes, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's show this one too. Here we go. We have another. I mean, it's just amazing. I'm going to let you pick it up because.
Which one is
Wow. Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page.
Unbelievable.
Jimmy Page, not a Led Zeppelin person, but Jimmy Page by far was very intriguing to me, and he was another one that has got very lost with heroin, and the way he would verbalize the notes in the music was incredible.
Wow.
So it just, he's easy to paint because you put on certain music, boom, with all the hair.
Oh my God. I have to tell you that.
But there really is no.
The detail is so amazing. And,
thank you, but.
Just love it. Love it.
He's easy to drape the hair over.
Well, no. I have to say, it's not easy. You make it look easy, but it's just amazing.
No, you know how many of these I attempted?
Oh, really?
Boom, in the garbage. Somebody's teaching me not to throw my bad stuff away.
No, that's very. I wonder who that could be. She doesn't want to be on film, but
Frankie with an eye. But this is an actual watercolor painting. That's one, and that's why if you look closely, I don't really show his face because the bleeding of the watercolor.
Yes, yeah.
But he's a very cool person to paint.
Wow, very.
And I can't stand the term subject.
Right. Yeah, I don't.
It's
subject. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
But he's
beautiful, beautiful. And then we have, which do we even need to explain who these characters are, right?
So,
oh my gosh.
This is a print of an original I had done.
Okay.
So a pretty famous musician who really grown to admire and is Godfrey Townsend, and he's the Yardbird guitarist. He's played with John Entwistle. He's just incredible guitarist, but he's a person that is so spiritual and so locked into himself and who he is, and you would not believe what he can do with a guitar and as a musician. And he's a big Beatle fan, and he actually got one of the originals. They were limited, and what I do is when somebody buys an original, I don't charge a lot of money, so people can have it.
Well, you say it's like a donation because you're usually helping.
No, not all the time. Once I got my own studio, it was cash check or charge. But I'll change things. Like in the original photograph that was taken of the Beatles during this period, there was another image of them, and then I put the early Beatles, and I call it Discontent. It was when they were falling apart. So, especially George. I am so drawn to George.
Yeah.
I mean, George was.
Well, there you want to talk about another amazing soul, George.
Oh my God, spirit.
And what's so amazing is that anyone you talk to says the same thing about George. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about George.
The only thing that which I've heard people say, famous people, not so famous people, people I meet, people you hear on interviews, they were like, George was great if he liked you. If he didn't like you, you severed, you're cut off.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm getting to learn too.
Wow.
I mean, because he didn't want that
bad negativity,
yeah, and they drain you. And let's face it, when you're, we forget that George, Paul, Ringo, but George specifically was 24 when they did Sgt. Pepper's.
Wow.
Which is beyond metaphysical, beyond all that. We didn't know any of that.
Right.
Let's face it, the Indian food, the yoga, all became because of him.
Because that's true.
Then Brian Jones, sitar.
Oh,
so
wow,
we forget that, but I wanted to show that duality between.
Yeah, I love
look at what we worked so hard for as the Beatles, and then look what happened.
And then right.
It was.
It was sad. It was a very sad ending in a way, but I know. I never wanted the Beatles to ever break up. That was, just. I just adored them. I loved them. I love the music that they produced was just incredible. Now, having said that, there's that saying, all good things must come to an end,
All things must pass.
Right, so you have to kind of look at it that way too. Now, is this done in watercolor as well?
The original painting is 90% watercolor, and then I would use acrylic just to give it a little pop to it. Because watercolor, from what I'm understanding now, is watercolor bleeds into the paper, the canvas, and it's flat. It's single dimensional.
Okay.
And so I would add acrylic, and you get acrylic is a thicker paint.
Right, exactly. So
you would get, and I like
because I was looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, now I know this is not the original, and I was thinking to myself, I think he used more than one medium. Yeah. So, wow.
So it, you use it, and then I fortunately found the technique that since being self-taught, all those mediums you mix, they do look wet. They look alive, and that's what most of my repeat customers have always told me, is that the pieces look alive, like they're bleeding, and that's really amazing.
Right, that is,
And the greatest ever is when you have a person, a famous person, or whoever it is, not famous.
Right.
When they ask you, hey, can you do that for me? The same.
Right.
It's of them, and you're like, wow, that's flattering.
Right. Of course.
So that's pretty cool.
And we do have to get to, because I don't want to forget.
Oh no, speaking of John.
Yes. So, this is, and I probably should put my eyeglasses on for this, but I can let you, I'm going to hold it up.
See, if you had a teleprompter, couldn't you read
it
off that?
Well, if they want to send donations to Axis 23, we might be able to get a teleprompter. I'll never forget when I first met David, and he had gone on to watch a couple of my episodes, and he was like, do you use a teleprompter? And I'm like, no.
Oh, that's what I love.
And he was like,
cool.
You don't use a teleprompter. And I'm like, no, it's just, and I was like, we're non-profit.
Yeah, but I can't afford a teleprompter, right? Because it's all just real.
It is, it's as far as, I'm concerned, if it goes really badly, yes, I guess we could start the interview over from the beginning, but hopefully I've learned enough to give a decent interview. So this actually is David and May Pang, right?
Well, May Pang's body of work. May Pang is really tied to John Lennon and the music industry. She's a
Right.
very, very well respected person in the music industry who's worked for Bob Marley, who's done work with John Lennon. There's two iconic pieces of post-Beatle material that John did, and that's Walls and Bridges, the record album, which is extremely personal to him, and again, Walls, Bridges, right? So it's and a number 9 Dream was the hit single, and it's about a dream he had, and he was very spiritual, very metaphysical.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And May Pang was the one that was like grounded him and really brought out his Beatles side, which was the more creative side, and the more like I Am the Walrus, Sgt. Pepper's, but John Lennon was nitty gritty rock and roll. Tell you how he felt. Like same with George, they were both that way. So May Pang worked for the Beatles and APCO, which was Alan Klein's company. So he became their manager in the early 70s, which was Apple. Apple Records, Apple Films, Apple Video. And then May Pang worked for them and then worked for John and Yoko. And eventually, May Pang, through a different circumstance, they started to date. And they really became kindred spirits, soulmates. I mean, everybody. McCartney came back into his life, George, Ringo.
Oh, interesting.
And she has the most amazing stories about the 3 Beatles being together. She said none of them could ever be together ever again. The last time the 4 ever were together in one room was 1970. It was on the rooftop of Apple plane.
I
They
remember
never
that.
were together ever again.
Wow.
Because of visas and personal reasons, business. But May Pang is such an amazing lady, and she took private pictures of John, just like this great picture. And he was just himself. And she is going to have a retrospective of her intimate photos of John at our studio and gallery. She'll do a meet and greet, and she's salt of the earth.
Wow.
So.
And now, at this event, which is June 23rd and
22nd and 23rd, which is Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. Where is it being held?
At our studio, Iconic Images Art Gallery in Boonton, New Jersey.
Okay.
And it's, if you email me at iconicimagesgallery@yahoo.com or go on our website. For the life of me, I can't figure out what my website is. For the last, how many years I've had it. If you put Iconic Images in a Google search, Iconic Images Art Gallery or David Pucciarelli, I pop up.
Okay. And what time is it as well? Because
it's a meet and greet from 5 to 9.
Okay.
But we also are having some of the coolest rock history pieces. George Harrison, I was fortunate enough to get a handwritten note from 1962 for George, and there's a backstory to it which we'll show.
Oh, neat.
It's not for sale, but he actually was with 1962. They came up from Hamburg, and they did this opening act as the opening Beatles for somebody who played like more country, rockabilly, and like I said, 1962, and they were pretty much booed because the Beatles were still playing in Hamburg at the time.
Was that Roy Orbison?
No.
Okay.
No,
I know they played.
Close friends
yes,
with
they
Roy.
were. Yes, they were.
No, he's an obscure name who eventually became a nobody. Maybe that was that Beatle power. But they were booed because they were so loud. Now, the Beatles in that period were punk rock.
Oh, wow.
The Hamburg Beatles, Stuart Sutcliffe, the original Beatle. Pete Best was still in the band, and Ringo had just come over. But they were punk rock. They were filthy, nasty rock.
Oh, my God. Oh, wow.
Long before the Sex Pistols.
Oh, wow.
Oh, God. And John and George used to say the Beatles sold their souls.
Wow.
To become the best music was never recorded.
Oh, wow.
Because, so we have a piece of a note by George Harrison, handwritten, which has to do with the story. We have an original signature by Brian Jones, the original Rolling Stone.
Right.
And a centerpiece besides May's pieces are
Wow.
Stuart Sutcliffe, the original Beatle,
Wow.
who unfortunately died at 21. He and John were
Wow.
before Paul, and
Right.
so he was a painter though.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And we were able to get a double-sided piece from his sketchbook, and that'll be a prominent piece there.
Oh, nice.
And May is even looking forward to. She's never seen that.
Oh, really? Oh,
So
no
it's-
kidding. Oh, wow.
So-
Now, did you tell me that May also is an artist? That she
Photographer.
Photographer. Okay,
Yeah.
so a lot of her photographs will be there too.
All of her photographs,
Wow.
specifically of John. I'll tell you, there's a really short story. I'll make it quick. John was officially, they were ending the Beatles in 1974. They went through a lot of legal wrangling.
Right.
And to get to that point, they all had to sign a document officially ending the band. But best friends, childhood friends, they met when they were 17.
Right.
Stu had been involved and died. So what happened was they were all supposed to be in the same hotel. Ironically, it was the hotel that they came to do the Ed Sullivan show
Oh, wow.
a few years
Right.
prior.
Okay.
And now they're going to be there to officially end them.
Oh,
And again, because of their visa problems, all four could never be in the same room. But George and Paul and John were supposed to be at the hotel to end it.
right.
Ringo had signed a document overseas, sent
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And what happened was, John didn't go for some deep reasons, and he finally decided to go because May said, I think it's time we ought to go. The other guys were here, your brothers were here.
Right.
You have to do what you're supposed to do. And it's ironic because a twist of fate, he's one of the ones that, because Beatles, it was his baby.
Right.
So now he's officially ending it.
Ending. Right.
She has a photograph of him signing it, and you see the other signatures.
Oh, wow.
And
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm getting chills right
Chills,
now.
Right. Right.
And he's, she has that picture. She took it.
She took it. Wow. Wow.
It is really amazing that what this lady's experienced. And,
Right.
like I said, if anybody you talk to in the music world, she's salt of the
And
earth.
this is, I'm guessing, a picture of her.
Yes,
yes.
it's now, and then
And
this is
then,
back in the
okay.
70s.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, the other thing that I find really interesting is that you said she also does a lot of nonprofit. She loves giving back too.
Yes, she does the charity for the rainforest, the indigenous people,
Oh, okay.
South America. So she's a chairperson. Yes, she's like Julian. Julian's another person that
Okay.
is just, if anybody gets a chance, Julian Lennon's White Feather Foundation is, and if you just read the story, how he came up with that, has to do with his dad. But Julian is an amazing artist in his own right, amazing musician. His photography is breathtaking.
Really? Oh wow! See, I didn't
If you get a
realize.
chance to look,
We'll have to
he
take a
does
look.
children's books as well.
No kidding. Oh wow! See
So,
that? Yeah. You lose track of what everybody else wound up eventually doing in life.
Correct.
A lot of the great musicians, their children, what they're doing. And I know that George Harrison, his son,
Donnie.
is
phenomenal.
is a phenomenal.
And
yes.
Julian and Donnie, I've met Julian once, have never had the pleasure to meet Donnie, but you can just feel they're just like they're so amazing and so real.
Right,
And
right.
there is just no aloofness about them, and they respect and love the art of their fathers,
Right.
and what
Right.
they accomplished and did. We're forgetting what the Beatles went through to
Right.
start. Oh, they sacrificed.
Right. Oh yes.
Like
that's
John and
right.
George said, we sold our souls
To
to do it, and people are forgetting with Stuart Sutcliffe. That's why
Wow.
when you see this original painting by Stuart,
Wow.
and you forget he died at 21, and he was an amazing talent.
Oh, that's a shame.
And
yeah.
you see what they went through. They worked 8-12 hours a night.
Right.
They made no money.
Right.
It was
Right.
disgusting the way they lived.
Right.
Wasn't not an overnight success.
Right. Well, and that is something that people, I don't think, realize with many artists
True.
is how, for the longest time, they made no money. you know, and
Most of them.
most of them, yeah. And whether it be musicians or artists or
Stevie
whatever,
Queen's
right?
another one.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of them, you know, really. And how about the ones that never even knew in their lifetime that their artwork really took off?
Van Gogh
Right, exactly.
sold
you know?
2 paintings in his lifetime.
Right, right.
I mean, what
you
he
know.
went through is heartbreaking.
Right, yes, yes, yeah. He was really a tortured,
Oh,
tortured
yeah,
soul.
yeah.
But, well, if you get the chance, Boonton, New Jersey, June 22nd and 23rd from 5 to
5 to 9 is
5
the
to
meet
9.
and greet with May, and of
Right.
course we'll have cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, but you can see again, you can see some of that rock history,
Right.
and May will have a large number of her photographs of John, and when you see them, you're gonna really realize, all right, you know what, he was a human being.
Right, right. Well, that's,
He
yes.
was a human
right.
being. That's what you get. Look at. I
Right.
mean, you know,
Right.
that's to her goofing around
Right.
in the photo. He's using the camera, but
Right.
you really realize, you know what? Especially the Beatles.
Right,
Because to me, the Beatles were a supernatural force.
yes.
They were supernatural. There was a reason, and there's
Right.
nobody will ever,
right.
ever
I tend
artistically or
Yeah.
for what they did. They were supernatural, and to realize what they went through,
right,
especially the two, how they passed.
right.
It's
Yes,
a very,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
hard.
I tend to agree with you, you know, and of course, everybody says that, well, you know, a lot of people that grew up with Frank Sinatra or grew up
Yeah.
with Elvis Presley,
Yeah.
you know what? And I tend to say yes, that they're right, that, you know, there will never be another Elvis Presley. There will never be another Frank Sinatra. So, and we feel this way about the Beatles,
Correct.
you know, is that, you know, their work will go on, and you see it now. It'll probably go on forever.
Oh, they transcend everything. If you think
Right.
about it, we have to go to sales, unfortunately. They've sold their 3 billionth recording.
Wow.
3 billion. Elvis is what?
Right.
300
yeah,
million?
Yeah.
3 billion.
Wow.
So, but they have an effect.
Right.
That whether they chose to or not, and George, with this signature, we have this little note.
Right.
You can see I wouldn't say resentment, because he was only 19 at the time. He didn't, maybe
Oh
he
my
knew
gosh.
what was going to happen.
Wow.
But what he wrote, and when you come there, you have to see it in person. I'm not
Wow.
going to give it away,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
It's pretty amazing to see, and you can feel it. You
Right,
can
I was gonna
see
say,
the
yeah.
lines in it, and wow, I'm like, wow, George is George.
Right.
And there's a true backstory to when he wrote it, the time, the date.
Interesting.
Which
That's,
is
that's
like,
great.
wow,
Yes, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Which really, well, you know, being a medium, I have to tell you, you know, a lot of times I will take an object, and it's amazing when you feel it, what comes through. You know, it's
The energy.
it's like the spirit and the soul of the person is talking, you know, to you and through you. It's really an amazing gift, because it is a gift and a blessing, is what I say. Many people are afraid of it. Many people have the ability, but it's like anything else. You have to know how to use it and learn. And so
I'm giggling because I remember when we first met.
uh-oh.
I'm like, oh boy. There was somebody with you, Dave. There's somebody behind you. Remember? It was
I
kind
know.
of like that. I'm like,
No,
oh.
sometimes, you know what? It's so funny because a lot of times if something happens or comes to me or I'm feeling something, you know, I kind of blurt it out and then I move on.
Yeah.
And so I may forget that, you know, like I said that to you, you know, which obviously I did. So, you know, but it is something that just kind of happens, and I have to tell it because of the fact that I don't want to forget it. You know,
Well, I mean, you're talking us, because you feel that connection, and you feel
Yes.
an obligation to tell somebody,
sometimes,
or not to tell somebody
or
something.
not to some, right? Yes, yeah. It can be both.
It's that duality.
Well, no, you know what? It's the kind of thing that when you read somebody, it's kind of very personal, and so really the I want to say, how do I want to word this? To be polite, the polite thing to do is ask that person, do they want to know? Do you want
Okay.
this information?
Have something that might.
Yeah, because
So how do you approach them?
um,
Right? I mean, that's got to be.
well, you know, if it's really meant to happen, it kind of, you know, tends
Finds its
to
own
right.
way.
It finds its own way.
Mm.
Yeah. So you know, I don't like to push, but if a spirit really wants to come through and wants, then you know, I may say, by the way, would you want to? I'm a
This is
medium,
a little
and
message.
yeah. You know.
We had talked about, and this is back to Godfrey Townsend, who's that musician I mentioned before, and who happens to be a really dear friend of Maypay. And you do realize eventually that, you know what, good people,
Yes.
good energy, good
Yes,
people
that's right.
are
Flock
locked
together.
into one
That's
another.
right. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I didn't. You had mentioned last time I had seen you. We were talking about Art and Godfrey. I was talking to Godfrey, and we were talking about John Lennon, what he went through, and you could feel the singer's anguish and the pain. Or when John was kicking heroin, which Beatle did heroin. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They did
yeah,
everything before anybody knew what it
that's
was.
Right.
But they had that experience which drew it out of them.
Right.
And then what happens is when I was in desperation and the agony, and like Stevie Ray, that's where the artwork came out. But I'll tell you, the best part, because I was afraid, like Stevie Ray was a heavy drug addict.
Okay.
And then he was afraid when he got cleaned, I'm never going to be able to play the guitar again.
Right.
He was so
and when you
afraid.
realize that you can still do it without,
That desperation. And what happens
right.
is a strange turn of events put me in situations where, you know, you are facing it and you're like, oh no, I don't want to go because I'm not ready. I haven't done this, haven't straightened that out.
Right.
But it led me to a situation where, oh wow, you know, metaphysical. I can't spell chakras, but I can.
But
I know when it's there,
learning to feel it.
and
Yes.
you go off of that, and it's amazing that wow, I don't have to be in that frame of mind where I'm at desperation and then draw.
In order to
paint.
draw, right.
Or musicians write songs, but you know, it led me to acupuncture. It led me to that energy and acupuncture healing. Tony with an eye.
Right.
You know,
Right.
she's taught me so much. But then, you know, but that's when I linked up with George. You know, then I always was into that spiritual side.
Right.
But then you realize you don't have to go to that edge and about to jump off.
Right.
Now you can create. All right, the pain comes in. Let me create from that little bit of pain, and oh man, look.
Right. You know what's so interesting is when I was dancing, because I studied dance for many years, and did theater and everything else. And what was so interesting is to see so many people would have to, in order to get their courage up, do drugs or drink in order to get on the stage, and you know, and I was very fortunate that I never wanted to do drugs or drink. I didn't want to. I felt it would not
deter
enhance
from it.
Yeah, it would deter. It wouldn't. You know, certainly, you know, and so I never went down that road. I was very lucky about that. I never went down that road, but I did see a lot of people go down that road, and unfortunately, some of them.
They don't come back.
Right.
Their
they
road's
don't
a
come
dead
back.
end.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, look at Johnny Cash.
Right.
It's one of my.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Look at what he went through, but you know,
Right.
he became addicted to the amphetamines out of necessity.
Right.
Those guys, Buddy Holly.
Right.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Well,
they had to do it out of necessity to stay awake to drive to
and
the next
you
gig.
even had Elvis Presley. I mean,
my God.
you know, and boy, you know, the Elvis Presley fans, boy, they hate when you. But it's a fact of life. You know, it is what it is, and unfortunately, many people went down that road. What about all the entertainers? You had Judy Garland. Should do amphetamines to get up in the morning and
the weight loss to go down to sleep.
Right.
And what bothers me the most, where are her family and friends to protect her? I know you can't always do it. It is a destiny, I guess, where you're supposed to be here and gone at that time. But you always hear it after the fact. Oh, nobody was there to support. Yeah,
well,
you
Whitney
were.
Houston. Whitney Houston is a perfect example of that.
You saw her spiral.
Yeah, everybody knew it. Anybody close to her. But unfortunately, you can't. It really, in many ways, is up to the person themselves.
Absolutely.
But I can't even tell you. I want to thank you again so much for coming out tonight. And again, David Pucciarelli, if you get a chance, go to the, what is the name of the art gallery?
It's Iconic Images Art Gallery.
Okay.
And if you just type in Iconic Images Art Gallery or David Pucciarelli on the internet, you'll find us. Because again, I can't remember the website, and I've had it now 5 years. But I will remember your name.
Well, you sound like me. I'm the same way.
Look, where can you see this picture of John Lennon and meet the person that took the picture, and that was his soul.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I think it's fantastic, and I really can't wait to meet May. I don't know if I'm going to get to that weekend.
May through, Don Oriole.
I know.
Or Chris.
Yes, yeah.
Chris, by the way.
Well, she may be at. We'll have to. Yeah,
She might be at the party.
She comes to a lot of the parties, and so hopefully I'll, get to meet her then. But I would really love to be at this. I just don't know if that's going to happen. But anyway, I want to thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
And please, you have to look him up and go to his gallery and check out his work, because as you can see, he's amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No, it's truly how do I want to say, a blessing to me that I met you, because
thank you so much.
When you meet somebody truly so talented and just connected, we just connected from the moment I met him.
Personality-wise.
Yeah, well, you're, I don't know, you're just kind of like a kindred spirit to me. He's so real. He's so real, and there's nothing pretentious about you, and you tell it like it is, and
thank you.
And you're doing wonderful work.
Thank you very much.
Doing a lot of the nonprofits and giving your time and your talent to make other people happy, and that's really.
Yes, I guess that's what it's supposed to be, and
yeah.
And then we'll try to get Brian on your show.
I mean, and I just want to say this. How many artists spend hours and hours and hours doing artwork, and it never leaves their house.
Van Gogh.
Right? And they, so nobody gets to enjoy it. But anyway, I guess we should say goodbye, and to the audience, so say good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
David, thank you again.
Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure, as always.
This portion of the show is Stump the Stars. However, I've changed it up a little bit, but I decided that maybe doing a beanbag toss. I let the star pick what they want to do. And David decided that he wanted to do the beanbag toss. So he said, there we go. So anyway, with no further ado, I'm going to pick these up and throw them at you. I'll give that to you. Okay. Hold on. Yep. I know you're anxious. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Hold on. Okay, ready?
Okay. There we go.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm laughing.
Nothing like laughing at your guests.
Oh.